पाकिस्तान का इमेज बहुत से उन वाकयात से भी मुतासर हुआ जो मुसलसल दहशतगर्दी की सूरत में रूनुमा हुए। पाकिस्तान की मिलिट्री बेसिस, पाकिस्तान का जनरल हेडक्वार्टर, पाकिस्तान की इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज, पाकिस्तान के दफातर, पाकिस्तान की पुलिस की चेक पोस्टें, मार्केट्स, कोई ऐसा इदारा या जगह नहीं रही जहां पर दहशतगर्दों ने हमले नहीं किए। इसी वजह से कुछ हालिया कुतब ऐसी आई हैं जिनके अंदर यह कहा गया है कि पाकिस्तान इस वक्त अपने आप से जंग में मुब्तला है, बावजूद इसके कि पाकिस्तान ने दुनिया के लिए और अपने लिए इतनी बड़ी कुर्बानी दी, कोई भी ये कुर्बानी एक्नॉलेज करने को तैयार नहीं है। बुनियादी तौर पर पाकिस्तान के मुस्तकबिल के बारे में अभी भी सवाल उठाए जाते हैं। इसी वजह से हालिया तहकीक पाकिस्तान के मुस्तकबिल के बारे में बैनुल-अक़वामी फिक्र को उजागर करती है और ये कहती हुई नजर आती है कि पाकिस्तान का मुस्तकबिल किसी एक तरफ नहीं जा सकता। ये ऐन मुमकिन है कि मुस्बत हो और ये ऐन मुमकिन है कि बहुत बड़ा डिजास्टर पाकिस्तान के मुस्तकबिल के ऊपर स्याह बादलों की तरह छाया रहे।
If Pakistan persists with its status quo, then it means we're not likely to see significant political reform. We'll probably continue to see a certain degree of tension and conflict with India. We'll see relatively slow economic growth, and we won't see considerable political, social revolution of any sort.
The likelihood that Pakistan will stay the course of muddling through, experiencing some modicum of success with a persistent risk of failure, is extremely high. It is the dominant outcome for Pakistan's future, at least over the next decade, and possibly even beyond.
Pakistan has had a long-term addiction to a policy of muddling through. Even well-meaning leaders have chosen not to address the key issues. They haven't taken the tough decisions. If the past is prologue, I would say that Pakistan will continue to muddle through.
It very much is a nation that is still in survival mode. And when you're a nation in survival mode, you don't really make plans for the future. It's not like you sit there and think, okay, how can I improve my power and my electricity throughout the nation in the next 8 years? You don't really come up with an 8-year plan, a 10-year plan. All you're trying to do when you're a civilian leader coming in there is hold on to power.
The challenge there, of course, is that state adrift then quickly becomes some other, even worse scenario. So we may see Pakistan drift through for 5 years, perhaps even longer than that. But it's hard to figure that it can hold on in a way that actually improves international security, U.S. security, and Pakistani livelihoods in any meaningful sense if it continues to address its problems in the way that it has historically.
I think Pakistan is likely to remain a state adrift until something forces it in a different direction. That could be spurred by a breakthrough with India. It could be spurred by a more economically vibrant Iran on its border, a more stable Afghanistan on its border, that takes away some of the crutches that has enabled the muddling through over the years and forces it to actually engage domestically on its own severe problems.
I think the status quo can't hold for too long. I think the status quo is going to yield to something else at some point in the next 10 to 15 years. I say that because I don't believe that India can tolerate the status quo, and I don't believe that the status quo will be easily resurrected once the United States and the international community makes a transition out of Afghanistan.
The goal here from a U.S. perspective should be able to provide incentives, whether they're economic assistance incentives, military assistance to help Pakistan address its security needs, or otherwise, to provide incentives to spur people to think differently, and at the same time to demonstrate that the way of the past is, even if it doesn't seem profoundly threatening in the near term, will over time undermine Pakistan's own. An authoritarian state is one in which the military leadership of Pakistan reasserts its control over institutions. In order to do so, it finds that it needs to use far more repressive measures to quell dissent. And in the process, it may form alliances, political alliances, in that repression with Islamist parties as a means to work against opposition forces and to keep control over a state that in the past has shown it's very difficult for the military to have a firm grip upon.
Well, an authoritarian state has been present in Pakistan for more than half of its existence, so forecasting that possibility doesn't seem like a great leap of faith. At the moment, the international community has created disincentives for the Pakistan Army to take power again, and for the moment, the Pakistan Army has concluded that its own interests lie in staying in the barracks. But it's not at all difficult to forecast circumstances within the medium-term future in which the Army makes a different decision, either because of a crisis or because of the failures or conflicts in its relationship with civilian political parties or political leaders.
What I'm most concerned about is that each time that the military has gone in, it has expanded its inroads into Pakistan civil society. It has hollowed out Pakistan's civil institutions, and it has actually diminished the power of civil society to resist the military.
Given the enormous problems, internal, external, economic, political, and social, that Pakistan faces, the weakness, almost ineptness of its present political leadership, the fragility of its political institutions, the enormous problems it faces with India and on the Afghan side, all of these lead me to believe that a return to a tougher authoritarian line, possibly embroidered as Zia ul-Haq's government was with important Islamic elements, is certainly not to be ruled out.
While there's certainly, I think, some hardline Islamists within the military, I think you've seen a purging of those people in recent years. I think you actually have a more moderate military class among the leadership in the military today, people like General Kayani. I don't see a real sort of Islamist military nexus emerging in Pakistan right now.
It's important to establish a wide range of contacts and relationships with the civilian leaders of the country, and to make it clear in our interactions with Pakistan's military leaders that while we need to work with them, we expect at the same time that we will continue to have civilian partners to work with.